Hi everyone, this is Danielle Augustin. If you may remember, she's been on, I believe, once before, and she's going to talk to us about diabetes.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Morgan. I'm excited to be here with you. I do have some slides, but this will be pretty informal. So any questions that y'all have or any thoughts, just feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. But I'm excited to talk to you all about talk about diabetes, like Morgan was saying, and we're gonna I'll walk you all through what is called a risk assessment. And we'll talk about what risk is and all of those things. But this is part of the Kentucky Diabetes Network, which is a group of dietitians and doctors and people like me, Trent and Morgan, who just care about health, who are part of this network. And we're running a campaign this year called Prevent Type 2 in 22. So it's all about ways that we can practice healthy habits and lead a healthy lifestyle to prevent or delay the development of type 2 diabetes, which we'll talk about what that is here shortly. So as Morgan said, I've been on, it was probably over a year now. It was like peak pandemic time because that was right when we were still working from home, summer of 2020, talking about diabetes. So I just want to give a quick refresher about what diabetes is. Is there anybody on here, y'all heard of diabetes before? Or anybody you know have diabetes?
Yes, half of my family have diabetes.
Got it, Phil. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's definitely, Megan, I see you shaking your head. Definitely pretty common. And we'll talk about the different rates of diabetes, but especially in Kentucky, there's a lot of folks that have diabetes. And so what diabetes is, it's essentially when you have too much sugar in your blood. And then if you have a lot of sugar in your blood over time, it can do damage to different parts of your body, like your eyes and your nerves and your feet. So it's really important that we all maintain good blood sugar to keep us healthy. And what causes diabetes is a lack of insulin. And insulin is a hormone that helps take the food that we eat, break it down into sugar, and use it for energy so that we can do everyday activities. And so there's a couple different types of diabetes. So type 1 diabetes is actually what I have. And so that is a type of diabetes where it is called autoimmune. And that means for some reason, your body has decided to attack the cells that make insulin. So your body no longer makes insulin. They don't really know the cause. It is more likely if you have somebody in your family that has type 1 diabetes that you will get it, but it just sort of comes out of nowhere. So that's type 1. And a person who is a type 1 diabetic has to take insulin for the rest of their life. And so I myself have an insulin pump, and that's what gives me insulin regularly so I can stay healthy. There is also a type called gestational diabetes. And this is a type of diabetes that some women who are pregnant get while they are pregnant. And so this just happens for the period of time where the woman is pregnant, although after they give birth, they are more likely, about 50% of women who have gestational diabetes will go on to develop type 2 diabetes. And so next we have our prediabetes, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. So prediabetes means that your blood sugar is high, but it's not high enough to be diagnosed with diabetes. I'll show you those ranges here. And then if sort of left untreated, prediabetes can turn into type 2 diabetes. And so again, like I said, it's when your blood sugar, prediabetes is when your blood sugar is elevated. It's a little bit higher than it should be, but not quite high enough. So 1 in 3 people have prediabetes in the United States. And it's crazy because 84% of people who have prediabetes don't know that they have prediabetes. So a lot of people don't know that they maybe are at risk or that their blood sugar is higher than it should be, which is why it's really important to know the signs and practice healthy habits. And so type 2 diabetes, the cause is unknown, but we do know that genetics, so other people in your family that may have diabetes, as well as lifestyle, factors like eating healthy and exercise do contribute to the development of type 2 diabetes. So it can be prevented or delayed with some healthy habits and or with medication. So that's our kind of focus for today, is prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. And so the way that we measure blood sugar, sort of the gold standard, the best way that doctors measure blood sugar and to tell if someone may or may not have prediabetes or diabetes, is measuring what is called an A1C. And so on the right-hand side here, this is your blood sugar level just from a day-to-day perspective. So if anybody has ever gotten a finger prick and gotten their blood sugar tested, that's what these values will show you right there in the moment. What is your blood sugar? And this can change from minute to minute. So this will fluctuate a lot throughout the day. However, A1C tells us what your blood sugar has been doing for the past 3 months. So this is a good snapshot to understand and help diagnose to see if somebody has prediabetes or diabetes. And so if somebody has prediabetes, they are going to be in this range here. This 5.6 to 6.4% is when a person would have prediabetes. And that's at the point in which you might talk to your doctor about taking a medication or, engaging in some of those healthy habits like exercise and eating healthy to help get you back into a healthy range. And then once a person is 6.5 or above for their A1C, they are then diagnosed with diabetes. So that's just a little bit, if you've ever gotten your blood tested at the doctor, if you've ever gotten your A1C test, that's what these numbers kind of mean. And that's how a doctor will determine if you do or don't have any type of diabetes. All right, any questions? I'll pause there. Anything that anyone wants to say about diabetes, any experience that you've had, anybody, questions that you have, what we just talked about? All right, cool beans. So with type 2 diabetes, there are things that called risk factors. And risk factors is anything that may make you more likely to get a health condition or a disease. And so the risk factors that are associated with developing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes are these ones here. And we'll go through each of them, but this includes your age, so how old you are, your family history, so people in your close family who may also have diabetes, your blood pressure, your race or ethnicity, the amount of physical activity you do, your sex or gender, and then your body mass index. So we'll go through each one of these, but just knowing that each of these may contribute to the likelihood that you might develop prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And so for age, the risk of type 2 diabetes goes up as you get older. And so in the risk assessment that we'll walk through here, it gives you 4 different categories. For people younger than 40, that's going to have the lowest risk. So once you hit 40, your risk for developing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes goes up and then increases every 10 years. So younger than 40 will be a low risk, and then 40 to 49 will increase, 50 to 59, and then 60 or older will increase with age. Another risk factor is family history. And so if you have a close family member that has diabetes, any type of diabetes, that may increase your risk of getting diabetes. And so the questions that it'll ask you here are to think about your immediate family. So think about your mom and your dad, and if you have any sisters or brothers. If any of those folks have any type of diabetes, you would check yes, and then it would increase your risk. If you don't know if any of your family members have diabetes, you would just select no. Or if you know for sure that none of them do, you would select no. Because we do know that diabetes is genetic, so it is carried from, the risk is carried from person to person. So if your parent has diabetes, they might then pass down those genes to you that might make you more likely to have diabetes as well. but not always. Nobody in my life, nobody in my immediate family has diabetes, but I developed type 1 diabetes. So it's not all about genetics, but it's definitely a factor that may contribute. All right. Next is, oh, excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. Okay, next we have blood pressure. So blood pressure, I'm sure y'all have probably gotten your blood pressure checked before. We do it at the Healthy Athlete Screening every year, and you get it at the doctor every time you go. It's when you have the cuff around your upper arm and they'll inflate it and you'll feel a squeeze and they will give you a number, 2 numbers that will tell you your blood pressure. And so this basically just tells us how hard your heart is working to pump blood and keep you alive. So if you've ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure, this can increase your risk of developing diabetes. And so I'm sure y'all have seen this before. This is something that our team created, but this can help you understand if you get your blood pressure taken, if it is normal, if it's a little bit high, or if it's in the high blood pressure range. So the optimal level, the best place that you want to be for blood pressure is 120 and over 80. So that's the way they'll tell it to you. They'll say one number over another number. And so anything below 120 over 80, you're good. You're in the green. That means your heart is healthy, your blood pressure is normal. Once you start to go above that 120 over 80 range, that's when you are in this sort of caution danger zone, right? Where it's a little bit elevated. And this would have to happen on a couple different times. So no problem, Megan. Thanks for sharing. This would have to happen a couple different times. So you would have to get this checked maybe 3 or 4 times consistently, because your blood pressure is going to be elevated after you exercise, maybe after you give a presentation or you're talking to people and you're really excited. So there would have to be a couple different times that your blood pressure comes up a little bit high, and then your doctor would probably diagnose you with high blood pressure. So that's something to be mindful of. And then you hit the high range when you go into this red, which is 140 over 90. So important to sort of know where you're at. An easy way to do that is at places like Kroger. They usually by the pharmacy have one of those stations where you can sit down and put your arm in that little cuff and it'll measure your blood pressure for you. So maybe just if you're at the grocery store next time, sit down for a couple minutes and do that and just see where your blood pressure's at. You don't always have to go to the doctor. It's nice that you can sort of do those out in the world and see where you are. All right, so it will just ask you on the assessment, have you ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure? And you may not know this, and that's okay, in which instance you would just say no. But if you have ever been told by a doctor or are on medicine for high blood pressure, you would check yes on this question. Okay, the next one is what is called race or ethnicity. So different racial and ethnic groups are an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And so groups of people who are Black, Hispanic, American Indian, and Asian American, all, for some reason, the cause isn't really known, but these groups of people are more likely to have an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And so it will ask you on the questionnaire, which one of these best describes you. And unfortunately, you can only pick one. I wish you could pick more than one, but you would just look at all of the different races and ethnicities offered and check which one you closely you identify with. So white, Hispanic or Latino, Black or African American, Asian American, American Indian or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, other, or you don't have to say as well. Another big one is physical activity. So we all know that being physically active and exercising is important and keeps us healthy. And the goal that you all want to be shooting for, or what is recommended for adults in America, is to get at least 150 minutes per week of physical activity. And this may sound like a lot. You're like, oh my gosh, 150 minutes. But an easy way to break that up is just doing a 30-minute walk 5 times a day. 5 days per week. So You can go 30-minute walk Monday through Friday, or you can split that up. However you want to reach your 150 minutes, that's what you should be shooting for. So I'll pause there. I know y'all are obviously Special Olympic athletes, but are there any other types of physical activity that you all like to do or do regularly to stay healthy? I love going on walks, so I'd usually try to take a walk several days a week. But what else do you all like to do to stay physically active?
I like to go for walks too.
Walks are the best.
Go swimming.
Swimming's a great one, Morgan.
Let's see, treadmill.
Yep, treadmill's good, especially in the wintertime when you can't walk outside or it's very icy. Treadmill's a great one. Yes, so anything that sort of gets your heart pumping is going to be good for you, even if that is you are doing some really intense spring cleaning, right? You're going through your house and you're dusting and everything and you're vacuuming. You get a little sweaty when you're doing that. Or if you're outside gardening, all of that counts as physical activity. So just the more that you can stay active, the better that is going to be. The better that's going to be for your heart and to decrease your risk of type 2 diabetes. So on the questionnaire, it doesn't really specify, which I wish they did. It'll just ask you, are you physically active? If so, if you get movement regularly in your day and regularly throughout your week, you would check yes. If you're finding yourself sitting most of the day or in the car most of the day or not really getting your heart rate going, then you would press no. Right? The next one is going to be your sex or your gender. And so you can think of this as your biological sex that you identify. So male or female. I know everybody has different gender identities, but for the purpose of this question, you might just want to think about how you identify biologically. So men are more likely than women to have undiagnosed prediabetes. And this, one of the reasons that this is because men are less likely to go see a doctor regularly and get regular checkups, to get their blood pressure taken, to see a doctor and get everything, an annual checkup. And so everyone should be seeing their primary care doctor at least once a year, just for get your blood pressure taken, do your height and weight, maybe get some blood work done to see how your cholesterol is. And so it's really, really important that you do this so you know where you are. For me, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, it was just a regular old doctor's appointment. I was just going in and starting with a new doctor. And I, in that appointment, happened to learn that I had type 1 diabetes. And if I hadn't gone to the doctor that day, I probably would have gotten very sick before I learned I had diabetes. So it's really, really important to go get those checkups, and you can help catch something before you get too sick. Another thing that I had mentioned earlier that relates to gender and sex is that women who have gestational diabetes, so if women develop diabetes while they are pregnant, they are more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. About 1 in 2, so 50% of women who have gestational diabetes will then go on to develop type 2 diabetes. So all of these things contribute to that risk. And so on the questionnaire, it will just ask you if you identify as a man or a woman. And then if you check that you are a woman, it will then ask you if you have ever had gestational diabetes. Any questions so far before we go into this next one? All good? All right, cool. So next, we'll talk about, y'all might have heard of this. It's called the body mass index, or the BMI. And a little bit of a confusing topic, but essentially what this is this is a way to measure what is considered healthy weight for how tall you are. And so being overweight or obese increases your risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Now, BMI is not perfect because it does not take into consideration muscle. And so if a person has a lot of muscle, they are going to weigh more, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not healthy. So just be mindful of that. This isn't a perfect measure. You definitely would want to continue to talk to your doctor if you fall into that overweight or obese category, but it's simply based on height and weight. And so the way that this is going to ask you in the assessment is just to tell how tall you are. So it gives you in inches and centimeters. I'm sure we all use inches. So I am 5'6". And then it gives you, you won't put in your exact weight, it will just give you ranges. So I'm under 155 pounds. So that's the one that I selected. So we'll look at all of the options here. We'll go through it together, but you won't have to do any math. All you have to do is put in how tall you are and how much you weigh within the ranges that they give you. And it will tell you where you are in terms of BMI. Couple other risk factors that you want to be mindful of. One of them is diet. And I don't really like using the word diet because I think diet is associated with like eating super healthy and clean. It's really just about the food you put in your body. So it's, you know, things that can help decrease your risk of developing type 2 diabetes and just being heart healthy in general are making sure that we're limiting how much red or processed meat that we eat. And so processed meat is going to refer to things like lunch meat that has, or like frozen meats that like fish sticks that maybe have some additional breading or salt in them. So as much as you can get, you know, grilled meat and avoid red meat, which would be steak and anything that is from a cow, any beef, limiting those is going to help us stay healthy. And then the big one, which I know we always talk about and always struggle with, is those sugary drinks. So as much as we can limit the soda and the Gatorade and the juice and swap that out for water, the better that is going to help us in many ways, not just with diabetes, but all of our, you know, different areas of health. Another important risk factor is smoking. So smoking tobacco products like cigarettes or cigars can increase your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. It's really hard on your heart and your lungs and a lot of other areas. So it's just, you know, sort of best practice in general for many health related things to, you know, stop smoking or quit smoking or don't even start smoking. And then lastly, sleep quality, which is a big one, I think, for all of us. Sleep quality is very important. So people that have sleep apnea, which is a condition where your breathing is affected when you sleep. So people who snore really loudly or people who sort of stop breathing in their sleep and then they wake up and they gasp for a lot of air, those are folks that may have sleep apnea. So they don't really know what the exact connection between sleep quality and type 2 diabetes is, but we do know that there are people who, you know, people who have sleep apnea, they are more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. All right, any questions before we actually look at the test? I know, Megan, you have to jump off here. That's totally cool.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment about these risks. To reduce it, I would say exercise mostly, and also pay attention to calories as well. And my number one would be make sure you take your vitamins.
That's a really good one, Megan. Yeah, Megan, the vitamins really do contribute to that healthy food model. So yeah, being mindful of calories. Vitamins give you a lot of the nutrients. If you're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, vitamins really do help with that. Yep.
So for lunch today, I had mango.
Ooh, I love mango. We should get them. I've put chili powder on mangoes.
And drink plenty of water too.
Yep. Water is always the best choice. Look at Morgan chugging his water, showing off to everybody. Yeah, these are all great thoughts. Yep. Exercise, water, vitamins, you know, be eating healthy, all of these things. Exactly. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I should just be able to, did y'all see the screen switch that I just did? Are y'all seeing the website now? Or are you still seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes. Or,
okay.
Yeah, we're seeing the website.
Okay. So I'll put this link in the chat and feel free to do it and follow along, or we'll make sure we email it out after. But this is a website that's literally just called doihaveprediabetes.org. And it is a way for you to walk through those risk factors that we just talked about, and it will give you a score if you may or may not be at risk of developing type 2, prediabetes and or type 2 diabetes. And so when you get there, the button at the top, right front and center says take the risk test. And so when you click that, it will take you to those images that we just walked through. So I will use myself as an example here. So it'll ask you how old you are. And again, just look for whatever range you're in. So younger than 40, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, or over 60. And anybody can do this. You can do this as many times as you want. So if you do it and then you're like, I want to have my mom do it or my brother do it, you can send it to them.
And I tested it out for y'all, so there shouldn't be any difficulties with it.
Yes,
getting
Morgan piloted it for us, and everything is written in pretty plain language. But if you have
I think
questions,
so. Yeah.
let me know. Thanks, Megan. Have a good one. So you'll pick your age to start, and you'll just keep clicking next. And then it'll ask you that family history question. So thinking about your mom and your dad, your sister or your brother, any of those people, if any of them have any type of diabetes. And so for me, I would click no. However, if my brother was taking this, he would click yes, because I have diabetes, his sister does. So I would click no. Ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure? And again, that goes back to our blood pressure chart here. So knowing sort of where you are on this. And if you don't know, then maybe that's a good next step to take, is just go to your doctor and write down your blood pressure, or go to a Kroger, get one of those arm things done and see where you're at. So I've never been diagnosed with high blood pressure, so I will select no. Race or ethnicity. And again, I wish you could check multiple, but you can only check one. But I'm white, I'm a white woman, so I would check white. But you don't have to, or if you're not sure, you can click no, or you don't prefer to say. Are you physically active? So again, very broad, but if you feel like you're an active person, you take walks, you play your sports regularly, then you would check yes. I take lots of walks, and I also lift weights at the gym, so I would click yes. Are you a man or a woman? So I identify as a woman. And then, like I said, that will open a second question, which is, have you ever been diagnosed with gestational diabetes? And I would click no. I've never had a pregnancy, so I would click no. And then this is where you'll select your height and weight. So I am 5 feet 6 inches. And then the weight category, similar to age, it will just give you a couple ranges. So if you're under 155 pounds, if you're between 155 to 185, 186 to 246, or above 247 pounds. So you'll just select which one you are. Don't have to do any math, just pick where you're at and click next. And then it will tell you, of all of the risk factors listed, how many you had. So I had 0, which is great. So if I didn't have type 1 diabetes, I would be at risk. I would not be at high risk at all for developing type 2 diabetes. And then it has a really awesome website or next step where you click see tips. And so maybe your risk factor says 6 out of 10. And you're like, oh, that's a little bit high. I'm sort of at a high risk for developing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. You can then click see tips, and that will take you down here and tell you about all of the things that we just talked about in a little bit more detail. So it'll tell you a little bit of info about prediabetes, what it is. I'm actually going to go to this page. So prediabetes can, not always, but it can be reversed, which basically means if your blood sugar is in that prediabetes range where it's a little high, there are things that you can do to delay or reverse prediabetes to get yourself back in that healthy range. And so some things that you can do, which again, we just talked about, are, we'll go through each one. So maintaining a healthy weight. And so the BMI is a good place to sort of identify what a healthy weight for your height is. But things like being active, eating healthy, managing your weight. The statistic that they give, which is a little confusing, but what they basically tell everybody, if they're at risk for developing type 2 diabetes, they say if you lose 5 to 7% of your body weight, you can lower your risk. So if I was 100 pounds if I lost 5 to 7 pounds, I would be at a lower risk for developing type 2 diabetes. 100 pounds is very light, but that's just an example there. And so encouraging folks to start small. You don't have to do everything all at once. Just adding a little bit of exercise can over time can really help. Start maybe taking a walk once a week if you're not walking at all, or in building up from there. Keeping a food diary to track what you eat is really good, and that helps. That plays on what Megan was saying of just knowing how many calories that you're eating. And a doctor can sort of help you with that to figure out how much you should be eating and what those calories should look like in terms of healthy food. And another really important one is social support. So we don't have to do this alone. It can be kind of scary when we're like, oh my gosh, I have to make all of these health changes to stay healthy. I don't know where to start. You can always talk to friends or family members or coworkers or other athletes and team members to get that social support, because we do know that folks are much more likely to be successful with healthy habits if they're doing it with somebody or talk to somebody about it to get support. So those are all of the things under managing your weight. And then you go to the get active. And so that is just ways that you can get a little bit more exercise into your day. So an easy one would be if you're able to take the stairs rather than the elevator. And this one at the bottom left is similar. So if you park at the back of the parking lot, you'll have to obviously walk further to get into the store. This is an easy way to add a couple different steps or rolls into your day. Get a little bit more exercise. This is that 150 minutes a week that we talked about, 2.5 hours of exercise every week. Something that can really help is creating an exercise schedule and sticking to it. So for myself, I lift weights Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then I take a walk Wednesday and Saturday. And so I have an idea of what I know I'm going to do every day, and that helps keep me in a routine and helps me stick to that schedule. So that can be helpful for a lot of folks. Any questions? We'll just keep checking in. Any thoughts y'all have? Cool. So eating healthier. Try to avoid food that is fried. So fried chicken, French fries, anything that has breading and that is fried, especially a meat. Opt for something that is roasted or grilled or baked. That's going to be heart healthier for you. It's going to have less fat in it. However, just because something has lower fat doesn't mean it has to be boring, right? Using things like spices and herbs can really help keep your food exciting and tasty, even if they are lower fat and don't have those things like the breading or the sauce on them.
What about sweet potato fries?
Sweet potato fries, those are still fried. So while they have a little bit more nutrition than regular potatoes, you could definitely still take that sweet potato and bake it in the oven rather than eat it as fries. So that might be a good alternative. But also too, everything in moderation, right? You don't have to cut out sweet potato fries completely. But maybe if you're eating them 3 days a week, maybe try to reduce that to 1 or 2 days. So you can still have the fries, but just being mindful of, limiting how many times maybe we're eating those, or switching to a healthier option like a baked sweet potato instead of sweet potato fries. That's a good point. You can still have the fries. I still have the fries. We should all still have the fries. All right. And then reading food labels. Did y'all do a Wellness Wednesday on food labels? I can't remember. I know we had talked about it, but I don't remember.
We've talked about it a little bit in some of our shopping sessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so again, going back to the food diaries and what Megan was saying about limiting calories, reading food labels are a really good way to just know what you're putting in your body and what that looks like. Because I know I've been like, oh, this thing is healthy. And then I'll look at it and there's like a bajillion grams of sugar that I didn't know were in there. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was healthy, but maybe I won't eat as much of that. So just sort of knowing where you're at is a really powerful tool to help see maybe small places that you can make some improvements. And then lastly, I know everybody's not a big vegetable or salad fan, but working in vegetables in the form of salads is a great place to incorporate, more nutritious food. So you can still jazz up a salad, like put some meat in there, like grilled chicken, put some, sunflower seeds in there, put it on like a good dressing. Like salads can be pretty jazzy. They don't have to be boring. So salads are a really good way to get in some extra food, and they're very filling. So a big bowl of salad will fill you up a lot more than maybe a couple pieces of like chicken tenders over the long run of a couple hours. And then lastly, quit smoking. So there are lots of professionals out there for folks who are looking to quit smoking. So your primary care doctor or your family doctor is a great place to start, but there are different coaches and people who their specific job is to help people quit smoking. So looking at options around there, and they might talk to you about things like making a list of all of the reasons that you want to quit smoking. And this could be to save money because smoking is very expensive to buy packs of cigarettes, or it could be so that I can take a walk up my stairs without feeling winded. There's lots of ways that quitting smoking can help benefit you in your life. Again, talking with your doctor, and then quitting with a friend or getting social support. So, maybe if you and a friend are both smokers and you want to quit, to support each other. That's going to be a lot easier if you're doing it together, or even if you just have somebody that's helping keep you accountable. That really does make a big difference and helps a lot. Any questions about weight management, eating healthy, being physically active, quitting smoking? Any questions about those healthy habits we just talked about? All right. And again, there's lots of really awesome stuff on this website. So I would just encourage y'all to just poke around on there, see what's up. There's also, the last thing I'll say, if you are at risk if you take this risk assessment and it tells you, or your doctor tells you that you are may have prediabetes or at risk for developing type 2 diabetes, there are these programs that exist everywhere in the country that are called National Diabetes Prevention Programs. And they are evidence-based, meaning that we know that they work. We know that people who go through these DPP or diabetes prevention programs are significantly less likely to develop type 2 diabetes if they go through these programs. And so it is a year-long program, and it's once a week. And a lot of them are being offered virtually now because of the COVID world that we're in. And you'll basically have a lifestyle coach who leads every session, and you'll have a group of people. So you'll have that built-in support that we talked about is so important. And you'll go through this year-long program with that coach and with these people. And it's all aimed at helping you do these healthy habits that we talked about, like maintaining a healthy weight, exercising, eating healthy. So there's a whole website on the CDC where you can find one near you. So there's several in Kentucky. Let's see if we can. 40506. Let's see what we got. Hello. All right. So there's several in Lexington. There's 2 in Lexington. There's 2 in Richmond, Frankfort. There's probably, let me zoom out, Campbellsville, Somerset. So there's usually in every sort of semi-major city, there will be a diabetes prevention program. And they're either offered a lot of times by the health department there, or a hospital system there, or this one is run at the YMCA. So see if there's any online ones. There's a lot of online options in Lexington. So like I said, lots of ways that you can join. Let's go to Kentucky. If you're interested in doing a DPP program. So lots of good stuff. All right. Any questions before I have something exciting to tell you? All right. So go back here. First, I'll open it up for any questions, but as part of this Prevent Type 2 and 22 program that the Kentucky Diabetes Network is doing, you all will get a free t-shirt for being part of this conversation with me today. So the t-shirts are really cool. They look like this. I should have worn mine so you could see I have one in the other room. They're very soft. And so they have our campaign logo. They're just a unisex cut, so just like a regular t-shirt cut that say prevent type 2 and 22, and they have the Kentucky Diabetes Network logo on there. So you all can get a free t-shirt. And so what you have to do that is you can either spend the last 15 minutes we have here, or you can think about it and come back to it, but think about all of the healthy habits that we talked about today: exercising, eating healthy, quitting smoking, all of those things. Pick one of those healthy habits, or you all have talked about SMART goals before. You can turn it into a SMART goal that you want to start doing that can help you prevent or decrease your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So think about that goal, and it could be I'm going to take a 30-minute walk. I'm going to start taking a walk on my lunch break every day during the week, or I'm going to try to eat 2 salads for dinner during the week, whatever that goal may be. So think about that goal, and then email Trent, because Trent is like one of your point of contact people, that healthy goal or habit along with your t-shirt size. And then Trent, Kelly, Kim, and I will coordinate those t-shirts. And so we will figure out a way. We'll probably have them sent to the Frankfurt office if that's okay with you all. Or we'll figure out whatever the best way is to get folks their t-shirts. We can mail them as well. And then you all can get your free t-shirt and wear it and be excited. Or you can pick it up at summer games because we will be there. So just let me know if that's easier for you, if you'll be at summer games in Richmond, and we can bring those t-shirts to you. So we have a little bit of 15 minutes still. So feel free, if you have a healthy habit or a SMART goal that you have thought of that you want to share with the group, that's fine. Or any other questions that you all have for me or for the group.
I think for me, because a lot of times I'm working from home, so I think sitting at my desk all the time is boring, right? For everyone. So a good one is to try and move around, to not have to sit at your office desk for like the whole day.
Yeah, Morgan, I relate to that one so much. I actually have my standing desk up right now because I was sitting all morning and I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, that's a great one, and something that I am still trying to figure out. I think I need to set an alarm or something. Like I need a reminder to get up.
Yeah, that's a good idea, to set an alarm.
Yeah, maybe set an alarm at like lunchtime that reminds me, like even if it's like not nice outside, just like walk around a little bit, stretch a little bit. But yeah, it is hard. It is hard working from home.
Yes.
At my work, I walk around the whole building because I do repairs and stuff.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Philip. That's something that I miss about when we were working on campus, as we would go on walks. That's so nice that it's like built into, or you can build it into your job. That's awesome. Any other thoughts, healthy habits, questions?
And some of the things Danielle talked about too, we can provide more resources on.
Yes.
As well. Things.
Yeah, so we have lots of stuff about physical activity and eating healthy. And, I'm sure you all have recognized like those healthy habits from other health topics that we've talked about, right? So eating healthy and exercising and quitting smoking not only decrease your risk of developing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, but they help with so many other areas of health as well. And so, they help your heart stay healthy, and, it helps you it helps your immune system. So prevents you from getting sick as much, which is really important, now in this COVID world. So knowing that, all of these small habits really do build on each other, and they help you stay healthy overall, not just with diabetes or not just with, heart disease. It's like, it helps you be healthy overall. And, we all want to feel better, right? It's always nice when you can sort of walk up and down the stairs without feeling winded, or like get up in the morning and feel rested from a night of sleep, something that I don't get very often. So, these small changes really do add up.
Yeah, definitely. Good word.
That is all I have for you. I will be sure to send the PowerPoint, and I can work with Trent to get your t-shirt sizes. So we'll work with Kelly and Kim to figure out the best way to make sure that you all get your t-shirts. It may be summer games if y'all don't mind waiting a month. We can do that, or we can bring them to the Frankfurt, have a mail to the Frankfurt office, whatever works best. But I've enjoyed chatting with you all today. Thanks for your conversation and your questions. And yeah, just let me know if y'all need anything else. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle.